You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. I want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. Be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Dancy.
That would be a little weird. I know where Dancy is.
That's not far from the house.
Not far.
No.
Not far.
No, you go right past. You go on 15, and you don't go turning and to see our friends at in Clarkson.
Correct.
You just keep going straight. You'll get to Dancy.
Correct. So. Yeah, I've been to Dancy a time or two.
There you go. Hey, it is Mardi Gras season around the South, and that means you need to head over to Churn and Spoon and to Strange Brew and enjoy a King Cack.
King Cack.
What's King Cack? I was trying to say, I made cack and frappe.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Cake and frappe into a word there. A cape. I don't know.
Well, that actually sounds like a good idea.
A king cake frappe, the king cake hot chocolate. Those are at the Strange Brew. It's at the Crocus.
At the Walmart.
Yeah. King cake frappe, king cake hot chocolate from the brew, and from the Churn and Spoon side of things, the king cake ice cream made here in Starkville daily. And the scratch-made king cake going into all of these ingredients, going into all of these things. If you are a Mardi Gras person, if you love a king cake, you need to head over to Strange Brew and to Churn and Spoon to enjoy. Can you say the French thing? Can you do it? Or do I have to do it?
The let the good times roll.
Yeah, can you do it in French? You gotta laissez le bon temps rouler. It's in Châtaignier. There we go.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. But I am going to Churn and Spoon and Strange Brew today. It's a tradition when we go to our baby appointment.
Yeah.
Whenever Natty's with us, particularly.
Yeah.
We go to Churn and Spoon after. It's a tradition. So today I will be going. I don't know what I'll get. It will likely be one of those king cake products.
You need to do that, yeah.
So I'm really excited about it.
All right.
Will you be drinking the frappe and the baby just like gets sucked up the straw?
That could be an issue. Really, it's like, yeah.
One time at
I know he choked to death, but he still has to bring the king cake next year.
Correct. One time in the press box at Duty Noble, I think it was McCray. Clay brought a king cake. You know, one of those that one of those traitors.
I have no knowledge of this person.
One of those traitors. Yeah. But she's
on the Stone Cold Steve Austin path. With
yeah.
Right? So.
She brought us a king cake up there.
Yeah.
And greatly appreciated it. Mm-hmm. And I got a slice of it. I had the baby.
Where's the king cake?
I forgot to bring it.
You never brought. Well, you're going by Churn and Spoon. Get one.
Yeah. So
bring that the next time you're here. I'm going to see you tomorrow because we're going to lunch at Restaurant Tyler.
We are.
So,
yes, we are.
All right. Let's get through these reads and then we'll continue our show. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef.
You know how we do.
I do. I do know how we do. Beef, it's what's for dinner. If you're going to be cooking out this weekend, it's going to be cold. The easiest way to warm up is to fire up the grill and stand next to it and put a steak on there. You won't have to be out there too long, but it'll be great. And you can enjoy yourself. Enjoy a fantastic steak this weekend. And if you don't want to cook, that's not a problem either. We got so many great steakhouses here in the state of Mississippi. You can go frequent any one of them. I haven't heard yet what steakhouses won Best Steakhouse this past year. I'm looking forward to finding that out. And Best Burger Joint as well.
One of those on the list, I believe, was Mitchell's in Eupora.
Okay. That's
what my parents told me. They were in the top 5 or something.
Oh, that TikTok I was telling you about.
Is that what it is?
I think, yeah. So that's in Eupora.
Yes.
They didn't list the cities. They just said like Como was on there. I know where that is.
Yeah, and very, very underrated spot.
Ooh, I like steak.
When I go there, I get the Mississippi pot roast sandwich.
They have one of those on the menu?
It's a po' boy.
Oh, man.
And it's just it's the hoagie bread
with
a pot roast on top of it. It's not even folded up. It's just
Yeah,
bread with the
open
meat
face.
and cheese.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Yeah, you want that. And their steak is excellent too.
Beef, it's what's for dinner. Thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com is the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you're looking for. You are looking for it. It's a new year. You need new gear. You need the new logos, the state script, the M over S, and of course the interlocking MSU. They've got it all at College Corner. 2 locations to serve you in the Jackson area. Ridgeland by Fleet Feet, Flowood by the Half Shell, or you can shop online, collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant. Lunch, dinner, Sunday brunch, the best meal in town, always at Restaurant Tyler. Robbie and I are going to be there later today as you're listening for our lunch. Trying to keep my New Year's resolution to eat at Restaurant Tyler more often. So I'm looking forward to that, and you would be too. And if you are ever in Starkville, if you're going to be here this weekend for basketball, make sure you're going to make at least one trip over to Restaurant Tyler. Priority One Bank, 16 locations here to serve you in Central Mississippi. Let PriorityOneBank.com be your guide and show you not only where they're located, but they're going to show you how they help you invest, manage your money, and prepare for the future. Now more than ever, it's important to be able to get a straight answer about your money when you have a question. Nobody wants to be on hold. Nobody wants to talk to people that they don't know. You need a relationship with your bank that you can only get at Priority One Bank. If you live in Central Mississippi, you have a Priority One Bank location near you. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority. I may have overreacted a little bit last night when we were talking about this. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. For those of you who aren't in our group text, I was quite upset at some performances on the college basketball court.
We won't bring that up. That's a private group.
It is. It is.
I did threaten to bring some of it to light, but I'm not going to.
We did.
I'm not going to do that.
You also told me I could, quote, go back to slinging pizzas. You son of a...
Look, you opened that door.
I did.
I wonder if Papa does.
Take me back. Like, let me go put the clown suit on again today. All right, I'm excited. So here's where we are. Mississippi State.
Hey, I contemplated getting a new job too.
It's just
many times this year.
Sometimes it's just tough.
Well, sometimes I think okay. First of all, if I did enter a new field, could I completely shut Mississippi State off?
Ooh, that's tough.
And I don't know if I could.
That's what I said to you. I was like, would Mississippi State stop losing if I did this, if I changed jobs?
If I could just tell myself, all right, you're not going to pay attention to Mississippi State anymore. You just go on with your life. You live every day for something else. Your family, God, whatever your other job is, music, I don't know. But you literally do not give one iota about Mississippi State. If I could do that, I would.
But you can't.
I don't think I can.
You can't, so you don't.
I enjoy my job.
Yeah.
So I might as well stick around.
All right. So Mississippi State absolutely handled by the Auburn Tigers.
I mean, total domination, let's be honest.
Without their best player. That's a scary result in some ways. You know, you see your team get handled like that, and you knew the other team. I mean, what's the score of that game if Broome plays?
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes when you lose a player like that, it brings out the rest of your strengths.
I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, if Hubbard doesn't play, I think State loses by 50 in some games. Now, not last night, but...
Well, I mean, I could make a point that the offense flows a little better if he's not in the game. If you look at the numbers he had last night, I mean, there's times when he's kind of shooting you out of it. But there's also times where he's keeping you in the game. So I think I would much rather have him on the floor. But it's tough to say. I think their entire game plan would look a little bit different with Janai Broome in there.
Yeah.
I don't think State does as well rebounding in that game. It's kind of strange. They out-rebounded Auburn by, I think, 12.
Yeah, they did a good job on the boards.
They were getting absolutely
shots.
Auburn was slapping everything in the stands.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. Everybody was getting blocks.
Yeah.
So, it just from the start, State looked completely shell-shocked.
Yeah.
It was 10-0. They were hitting threes. State was throwing up bricks. And State just never was able to truly get into that ball game. And every time they would kind of make a run, Auburn would push it right back out. It's just a very well-rounded team.
They're a good team.
They're good at just about every position, and they're very deep.
Yeah.
They can go just about 10 deep.
So you combine that with the fact that Mississippi State now losing 2 in a row, playing Ole Miss on Saturday. Ole Miss goes to Alabama and gets a big win for them. That's a big win for Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
They win by double digits. For you talking about for net purposes, a quad one road win where you win by double digits, that is as good as it gets for anybody. That's going to be a confident Ole Miss bunch coming to Starkville now. So here's the question. Is it too early to say must win?
I'd answer that a couple ways. First of all, it is kind of early to be saying that for, I guess, your postseason hopes.
Mm-hmm.
But for Mississippi State in this, with the schedule that they have, and considering that Ole Miss is next up, and Ole Miss is playing really well, and you're trying to maintain some momentum here, it does kind of feel like a must-win. State is not playing well. We've seen this team go through a couple of stretches like this since Chris Jans has been here, and every time their backs are against the wall, they seem to fight out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The first year was a little bit different because they were really kind of handcuffed on some things that they could do offensively,
mm-hmm.
and they just weren't ready, and they had that stretch of 6 or 7 straight losses, whatever it was. And they were able to get out of that. Last year, we didn't see the prolonged period where they're really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
But they did start off and struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
This year is kind of similar to what we saw last year. So this stretch right here is so big. State, I'm not shocked by what happened against Auburn, and none of that really, what happened last night, none of that really affected me to the point where I drastically changing my thoughts on Mississippi State. I
mm-hmm.
thought that was going to be a tough game.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that if State didn't play pretty well, they were going to get run out of the gym. And that's pretty much what happened. They played terribly. So now you have to kind of refocus. So I'm not really shocked by that. But what you do from here on out is what matters now for Mississippi State. You lost the number 1 team on the road. You lost to a top 10 Kentucky team who's beaten you 20 times the last 21. That's not a big deal. You can't lose to Ole Miss this week. That's going to be a game that probably going to be a quad 1 game
mm-hmm.
before it's all said and done. And then you got to go to Tennessee. You got to go to South Carolina.
That's the issue. If you lose to Ole Miss, you're staring a 4-game losing streak in the face.
Yeah.
Because you're going to probably lose at Tennessee.
It's going to be tough to beat Tennessee there.
And then South Carolina had Auburn on the ropes at home. And at that point, if you're in the middle of a 4-game losing streak, sometimes you just get in a streak. And then all of a sudden, now, so let's just say it goes horribly wrong at South Carolina. Then you're playing Alabama.
Yeah.
So they've got to get this streak broken here
mm-hmm.
Saturday.
If you win this game, say you lose to Kentucky, you go beat South Carolina, you're still right on track. Your 3 losses at that point would be 3 quad 1 losses. That's not going to be super detrimental to your resume. You're still in good shape. Then you come home and play Alabama. That feels like a game you really need to win. And if you come out of that with a win, then there's no harm, no foul.
That's interesting because you talk about Alabama. That's a team that Jans has had zero success against.
He struggled against them. But, this Alabama team, something seems off with them. I know they're top 5, mm-hmm. but last night,
they handled. They couldn't hold on to the ball. They couldn't make shots.
And I'm not taking anything away from Ole Miss. They played a really good game.
Yeah.
But Bama did kind of play into that too. Mm-hmm. They had some terrible turnovers. Now Ole Miss took advantage of it, and that's what really good teams do. So they absolutely went out there and won that ball game. But Alabama did not play well themselves, and Nate Oates even called it out, said it was pathetic the effort that they showed in that game. So it hasn't been. It's still a very talented Bama team, still a great coach. It hadn't been the Bama team that we've grown accustomed to watching the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So playing that at home, who knows? But yeah, you have some huge games coming up in the next couple of weeks, and it's insane to me how the schedule is playing out for Mississippi State. I mean, you look at it, and South Carolina is going to be the one team that you feel really good against in your first 8 or 9 games, and you get to play them twice or whatever. But Vandy on the road was very difficult, and then these other games are all teams that could potentially win the SEC. So it's an absolute gauntlet of a schedule, but you kind of have to take it one game at a time here. And Saturday is the next game up. It feels like a must win, to answer your question, rounding it all around.
Yeah. How concerned are you about State's perimeter defense? Because it just feels like it happens against Kentucky, and you're like, okay, well, one game and it's not that big a deal. When it happens, 2 games in a row, that concerns me.
Yeah, no, it's concerning for sure.
And I need to go back and look at the stats from the Vanderbilt game. I don't remember what they shot from 3. You were at that. Do you remember off the top of your head?
I don't remember it being exceptional or anything like that.
Let's see.
I thought the State, for the most part, defended them fairly well. It was them getting to the rim in the second half that was kind of the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, perimeter defense has been rough at times. They shot 19%. So the first 2 SEC games, you held Vanderbilt and South Carolina to 2 of 19 and 5 of 26. So Jan's even brought that up, that they had actually challenged the team, that he was looking at the numbers. He talked to, I guess it was Spurberger that he talked to about the analytics. Mm-hmm. And he said the thing that we struggle with the most is our 3-point percentage defense. Mm-hmm. And so he challenged them. They did it really well. And then you come back, some of those Kentucky threes were hand in the face, what do you do kind of stuff. And then you give up 10 more against Auburn. I thought Auburn had some really good looks. And you look across the schedule, they gave up 40% against McNeese. Prairie View shot 53%. Butler shot 55%. You've had some really bad games in there, and maybe that's what's kind of skewing it a little bit. Mm-hmm. You've had 4 or 5 really bad games, because to me, I guess coming into the SEC play, I just didn't see it as a big issue. Mm-hmm. But it has been the last 2 games, yeah. And that's something you got to break.
Ole Miss is a team that likes to shoot threes.
Ole Miss can shoot it.
They shoot the 3 ball really well.
So you got to defend really well. State's got to be able to knock down some shots. They were putrid on Tuesday night. 3 of 24, easily the worst all season long.
What's your concern level with Hubbard?
Moderately.
We're at that point.
Yeah. Okay. Something's wrong here. He's obviously getting his points, and that to me is a sign of a good player.
Still finds a way to get points.
Yesterday, he decided he was just going to try to get to the line. Mm-hmm. And I think he understands that he's going through it a little bit right now. He's a little bit of a funk. When I see a guy that's still getting his points, mm-hmm. I think that the confidence is still there. Yeah. It's just for whatever reason, it's not. I don't know what's going on there, but they're not falling right now, and so that's a little bit concerning. He had the good game against South Carolina, and his other 3, he's really struggled to hit those shots, and you have to have him. He's got to be able to knock down some shots for you. I feel like eventually you're going to look up and he's got a 30-point night and he's hit 8 threes. He's 8 of 13 or something. Yeah, like that's the kind of shooter he is. So it's one of those deals where like I don't think we talked about it the other day. I don't think you can tell him to not play his game, stop shooting or whatever. I just would impart on him, like I said, you got other teammates. Let's get your other teammates involved, because some of these possessions, he's coming down, shooting a shot, there's nobody there to rebound, and it's an empty possession. Right. You just didn't get a good look on it. Yeah. And I think that's him trying to get the energy going, get his team going, get the offense flowing, stay in the ball game, and sometimes that's not what you need. So I certainly think that it's probably a little bit of a sophomore slump. Mm-hmm. But if your sophomore slump's 17 a game and you're still shooting 36% from 3, that ain't bad. Yeah. Like I always say, I think we're putting a lot of expectations on him, and he really doesn't need all those expectations. Yeah, he's got other pieces around him. You don't have to rise to that right now. Just play, just be yourself, play in the flow of the ball game, and see what happens from there.
It's kind of what I said the other day. It's like you're asking him to run the offense, but you also want to run the offense through him. Yeah, and so that is really, really difficult to have a score-first point guard who's not actually a point guard. It's one thing when you have like De'Aaron Fox.
Yep.
He's a point guard. He can also score. Hubbard is not a point guard. And so putting that responsibility on him is huge. You'd really need to get Kugel back. With Clary, you and I were talking at this point. We'll just sort of address the rumors that he is injured, but it's an injury he could be playing through, is what it sounds like. And that it's a question of him just wanting to take it easy, and maybe he doesn't want to be at Mississippi State. If that's the case, I'm almost at the point where you need him badly enough that I would work with the Bulldog Initiative and be like, if we give you some extra cash, can we get you back on the court? I don't know what else to do, because you really need both of those guys. You need Kugel and Clary. That's what makes this team go, is to have the full complement that they had coming into the season.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with Clary. I mean, I really don't. I don't know enough to allege anything. I don't know if he's truly hurt. I don't know if he's sitting out.
Yeah.
I mean, if he is sitting out and he's going to transfer or whatever, why is he on the bench?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I don't think personally that Chris Jans would do that. I don't think that he would allow Kanye Clary to stay with the team, travel with the team, if he's holding out for money or he's wanting to transfer. I refuse to believe it until somebody tells me it's the absolute truth.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what's going on there. If he is capable of playing, yes, I would find whatever way I could to get him in the ball game. Because right now, I feel like Josh Hubbard needs to be playing off the ball consistently and allowed to do his thing that way. He just seems to me a better, more well-rounded player when he's able to move without the basketball, get open, all that stuff, and he's not just controlling it and thinking about what he's doing at point guard. Now, he's done a good job taking care of the basketball, but when Riley Kugel's not available, when Kanye Clary's not in the game, you don't have many options.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Delquan Warren is ready for that.
And Cam is just not a point guard.
Yeah.
He can distribute and he can run the offense a little bit, but you're better off letting him be himself. And I wish State had it's 2 years in a row, by the way. This just State has gotten, I don't know if it's unlucky.
This is unlucky.
I will call this unlucky. I'm willing to call these two unlucky. If it happens again next year, I'm going to say there's a flaw somewhere in the evaluation process.
Well, I mean, the evaluation of Kanye Clary, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it was just he's not able to play.
Yeah.
So, like, if he was playing,
I'm just saying, if a third year in a row you sign a guy out of the transfer portal and then he plays and then all of a sudden he can't play anymore.
Yeah.
At that point, it's a trend.
Just like a random guy.
Yeah. Like you had Andrew Taylor. Now you have Clary. I know a totally different situation. I understand that. But if it happens again, something's getting missed somewhere in this process.
I have to know what's going on with Clary before I move on that. But one thing's for certain, you really need Riley Kugel to be playing on Saturday.
He needs to play.
And I saw Riley whenever I was leaving the Hump on Wednesday and was walking normal. Seems to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll monitor that, obviously, but I was told that he just wasn't feeling right on Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. Went out, was at shoot-around earlier on Tuesday, and just the ankle just didn't feel great.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be a little surprising if he didn't play on Saturday.
All right. Big game Saturday with the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll talk more about it on tomorrow's pod. We'll have a preview interview as well with Michael Borky from Sports Talk Mississippi as we get set for a huge weekend of basketball here at the Humphrey Coliseum. Let's move into the rest of the show. That's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoked Meats right there in the Cotton District, the home of smoked Southern soul food. We were at Two Brothers on Saturday for the Tip-Off Society, and I had not been in a while and got the order of smoked wings. And, buddy, I don't know what they were doing, but those were some of the best. And I love Two Brothers Smoked Wings. I've had them many times. But whatever they did on Saturday, they need to do that every night because that's some of the best wings I've had in quite some time. Everybody's having a great time. You can be having a great time, too, if you make it over to Two Brothers or to the older brother, Starkville's best new restaurant, the home of the fancy sandwich. If you want to grab a great meal in Starkville, head to the Cotton District, Two Brothers Smoked Meats and the older brother right there next to each other. You will not miss. Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise you that. They give it to you every time at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years.
50, brother.
Future Brian missed you yesterday.
Oh, darn. We're going to have to record a 50, brother.
I need to do that. So he also, I don't know if you listened to the show, he apologized.
What'd you apologize for?
For having to bring the bad news.
Oh, yeah.
He was not happy about it.
Yeah. It was going to be one way or the other.
All right. He just wanted to let you know personally.
That was nice.
That he was sorry.
It wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault.
Don't blame him for
it.
No,
but it's fine.
Don't let it happen again.
And you should, if you have problems with your copiers and printers, don't let that happen again. Talk to Advantage Business Systems. When you need technology, if you need a new copier, your copier is going out, don't waste your time with the big brands. Talk to Advantage Business Systems. They're going to get you a great deal on a great name brand, and they're going to give you the service after the sale that nobody else is going to give you. They're going to treat you like a neighbor, not like a number. 601-362-9192, or you can visit them online at absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. Before you go to the game this Saturday, if you're going to be in Starkville, make sure a trip to Maroon & Co. is on the list of to-do things. You need to get some new gear. If you're in Starkville, the place to do that is Maroon & Co. They have a bigger and better selection than anybody else in the city. They've got stuff you can't find anywhere else. They have all the logos that you want. They have the Bulldog Initiative gear that you can't get anywhere else. Maroon & Co. is your one-stop shop for Mississippi State gear here in the city of Starkville. And we'll save you a little money with our promo code Thunder15, 15% off, regular price. Some exclusions do apply. I haven't found what those exclusions are, but apparently they are out there. Before you go to the game Saturday, make sure you've got a trip to Maroon & Co. Robbie, one thing we like to do on this show is we give credit where credit is due. Somebody does something, we give them credit for it. Mm-hmm. Last year, you and I, we had like a never-ending complaint about baseball not putting the roster online. And it got all the way, I think, maybe 2 days before opening day, before the roster was available. So shout out to Coach Chris Lamonis and shout out to Travis over there, the SID. Roster's up.
Yes.
We've got a roster.
Still not completely trimmed down, but
you've got
I'm completely fine with it.
So when we're looking at this roster, what's the thing that stands out to you? When you look at this roster, I see a roster that the hitting is what should carry this team early on as they try to figure out their rotation.
Yeah,
we don't know what that rotation is going to be. I'm like I said, it's Wednesday. We're a couple hours away from our Sports Talk Mississippi. We'll be talking to Chris Lamonis. I want to get his thoughts on what his rotation is, but I don't know where that's going to go. But I do know that you've got some proven bats in this lineup.
Yeah, that's been my takeaway since I went and watched them at the scrimmage that they had back in the fall, is that it's just a deeper team from a lineup standpoint. Mm-hmm. How many times last year did we sit around and wonder, like, who is going to replace Dakota Jordan if you need to take him out?
Right.
Like, everybody was like, he needs to sit. Who gets in the spot? There was literally nobody. They didn't have anybody that could come off the bench and get a hit. Mm-hmm. They were down to, I think, Michael O'Brien, Aaron Downs. Aaron Downs ended up starting late in the year. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think who else was kind of the bench guys. But it was nobody that could come in and deliver a big hit. And now I think that they went out and they got options. They got left-handed hitters. They got guys that can come in there and put together a really good at bat. It's just that to me is the biggest thing, is you can go a little deeper with your lineup. If somebody's having a rough day, if you want to do a righty lefty matchup, you have options there. And we actually can sit here and talk about and discuss, like, who's going to start in right field, who's going to start at second base, what's going to happen at catcher. Like, there's things that we can discuss beyond just, like, what happens if so-and-so is ice cold and can't get out of a slump.
Right. So
I think, competition is really good for you. And that was when we finished the ball game against Virginia in Charlottesville. One of the things I asked Chris Lamonis was, what do you think in the offseason is the biggest piece that you have to kind of build on this year, and one of them was building depth through the lineup.
Yeah,
and putting together a lineup too that's not just the depth, but they're going to give you really good at bats.
Yeah,
that's the big thing for this lineup. I think they're not going to strike out as much as they did last year, in my opinion. They're going to give really good at bats and probably a more versatile lineup, 1 through 9, and a deeper lineup in terms of power, average, on base percentage. I think it's going to be a better offense than what we saw last year, which is pretty good whenever you're replacing, a freshman All-American and Dakota Jordan and kind of your heartbeat there in David Mershon. I mean, you lost a couple of really big pieces, but I think that this is a group that has a chance to be better offensively than they were last year.
Hunter Hines coming back. I mean, that is not somebody that, when we were talking a year ago at this time, that we would have ever thought would be back at Mississippi State.
All right.
Has a really legitimate chance to finish his career as Mississippi State's all-time leader in home runs. Sitting on, for his career, he's got 54. He only has to get to, I think it's 67. Let me double-check that. I had it up here a second ago.
Yeah, that sounds right.
67 for Rafael Palmeiro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 67.
Got a very good shot.
So, I mean, he only needs 13 home runs, and this is a guy who averages 20 home runs a season.
Pretty impressive, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people complained about Hunter Hines during his career and kind of the slumps he's going through or whatever, but to potentially leave with all the great players that have come through here, and I know Palmeiro and Clark and those guys didn't play as many games as Hunter Hines is going to play, but to see, that is still pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy, we're talking about, he had a down year last year. He had 260 for sure, but he still had 16 home runs, 56 RBI, slugged 486. I mean, he had a decent enough year.
He just got into that rut, man.
He got into a rut, and he and Jordan both. And, Hyzak had to kind of carry things for a little while there. And
not a good time for it to happen, but, the State still was kind of scratching and clawing.
Yeah. I expect more consistency from Hines this year. I think he's going to be closer to what he was as a sophomore, where he hit almost 300. He hit 22 bombs that year. He slugged almost 700 that season. I expect a little bit more from him. My question is, in this lineup, who's Jordan and who's Hyzak? Who are the other two guys State can rely on the most when it comes down to it?
Ace Reese is going to be one of those guys.
Everybody says that, so I have to agree.
Ace Reese, I think, is a guy that's going to bat over 300 possibly. Could be your leader in home runs. I think could we probably compare him to Hyzak this year maybe?
Okay.
I'm just kind of.
I mean, we could, yeah.
I think he's going to be a more well-rounded hitter. So Jordan was kind of like, it felt like Jordan was boom or bust.
Yeah.
I think Ace Reese is probably going to be a more well-rounded hitter, which is what Hyzak was. I mean, Hyzak was after kind of struggling his first year here, really
struggled like the first month of the season.
Yeah.
And then just got hot.
SEC play, he was excellent.
Yeah.
Had he not gotten hurt, who knows what his numbers would have been like.
So then who's the boom or bust guy? I think it's Nolan Stevens.
Yeah, I could see that. I think Nolan Stevens is going to be a breakthrough candidate too.
I agree.
This could be a big season for him. He was really good in the summer. And pretty much exclusively hitting in the summer, if I remember correctly. I think he'll still have some spot duty pitching. I don't know if that's going to be as a starter or bullpen or whatever, but I think his best potential is probably at the plate.
Yeah, I agree.
That's probably where I would leave him. Maybe give him some matchup situations or whatever. And I mean, who knows?
He can get some midweek innings for sure.
But yeah, that's a guy that's got the potential to step in there and deliver a big season too.
And then, kind of the forgotten guy is Ross Highfield. When you miss a full season. But State last year, they struggled behind the plate at times. Johnny Long was inconsistent. Joe Powell had that great little stretch there, but also inconsistent. Highfield coming back not only solidifies your defense back there, but you saw some big potential from him as a true freshman. He could be a double-digit bomb guy as well.
Yeah, just more well-rounded player, I think, at the plate. Very athletic. catcher. You just don't see as many catchers as athletic as he is. He
Right.
can really run. I'm interested to see how he handles, I think he had a shoulder injury, how he handles coming back from that. Jackson Owen, too, is a guy that just haven't talked about enough, that had a big fall, that I could potentially see him stepping in and giving some really good performances. I think they're going to be deeper at that position for sure this year. Not just numbers-wise, I think they're going to be just more talented. And then Joe Powell he's been around for so long in college baseball. I mean, it's just a veteran piece back there, a calming figure that you just don't get as often.
We're talking about having depth.
Yeah.
That's a solid second string catcher.
Mm-hmm.
That's a guy who you can pinch hit, and he can, you can count on a little bit. I mean, State's problems last year, like you mentioned, sometimes they'd want to pinch hit, but it's a guy who coming off the bench hitting 220 or worse, and sometimes Joe Powell gives you at least a guy you feel pretty confident that he can go out there and get a base hit. So
yeah, and I'm ready to see how I feel. I felt like he was going to have a
I did too.
second year.
Yeah, and it just got taken away from there with injury.
So he's been out of the game for about a year now. How does he handle that? Does he come back and is he ready to roll?
Yeah,
we'll find out. But that's a guy that we've had high hopes for since he was coming out of high school.
Yeah,
thought he had a really good freshman season,
yeah.
all things considered. Let's see if he can get back in there and be 100% this year and give Mississippi State a really good season. He's got some tremendous power, and like I said, some speed. When he gets on the bases, that's a guy that you can steal with.
He can, yeah.
And that you just like I said,
you
don't have that. So there are very few holes in this lineup as far as athleticism. And last year, I thought they were running a little more. It felt like they were a little more aggressive on the bases. This year, can they put even more pressure on opposing teams?
Yeah.
We'd like to see them be smart in what they do because the base running has not been great.
Yeah.
But you definitely have pieces back there that I feel like can put some pressures on teams.
And Lamonis likes to play that way. He likes
does.
to play that aggressive, trying to move guys over. So we'll see if they can play along that way. All right. Tomorrow's show, a lot of preview for Mississippi State versus Ole Miss. We'll talk about the women's game as well, as both sets of Bulldogs and Rebels will be getting it on this weekend at the Humphrey Coliseum. So we'll talk about that. Maybe some recruiting news tomorrow. It feels like this Anthony Evans slot saga is drawing to an end. We'll see if he makes a decision for Mississippi State or otherwise tomorrow as well. Guys, have a great Thursday. Back with you on Friday. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.